I live in a quiet coastal town just outside a sprawling city, where the streets stay calm and the scent of salt and roasted coffee beans lingers in the air. The sound of waves is constant, like a heartbeat I've always known. My life has been simple. Work at the little seaside hotel, evenings with a book and a cup of tea, an occasional dinner with friends. After a few painful breakups, I promised myself I was done with love. Safety, even in solitude, felt better than risking another wound. Then Michael arrived. He came to the hotel on a rainy evening, carrying a leather bag and a tired smile. His voice was soft, his eyes the color of storm clouds. He thanked me for his room key with a quiet sincerity that caught me off guard. The next morning, he asked where to find the best coffee and which stretch of beach stayed empty even on warm days. I told him, and he listened as if every word mattered. Most people never really listen. Over the next 2 weeks, we found excuses to talk. When his workday ended, he would drift into the lobby and we'd linger in conversation until the lamps burned low. Some evenings we walked along the shore, our shoes sinking into wet sand. Other nights we sat on the old bench by the lighthouse, the sea wind combing through our silence. He told me about the stress of the city, about deadlines and endless meetings. I told him about my steady, quiet life. With him, I felt noticed in a way I hadn't in years. One night the stars hung close like lanterns and the breeze smelled of rain. We stood by the water and he said, "Being with you feels like peace." The words settled in my chest like a secret warmth. I think I started to fall for him then, without meaning to. When his 2 weeks were over, he left, but messages followed, every morning, every night. We talked on the phone until the sound of his voice became part of my routine. A month later, he returned, this time renting a small house near the harbor. We cooked dinner together, danced barefoot in his kitchen, laughed until the world beyond the walls disappeared. I felt lucky. One evening, he grew quiet. We sat with mugs of tea as the lighthouse beam swept the windows. He took a slow breath. "I need to tell you something," he said. My heart tightened. "I'm married," he whispered. "I have 2 children." The room went cold. My hands turned to ice. He kept his gaze on the floor and said he hadn't planned this, that his marriage was broken, but he stayed for the children. I stepped outside. The night air was sharp and the waves crashed like distant thunder. He followed, saying softly, "I'll understand if you never want to see me again." I wanted to scream, to cry, but no sound came. That night I lay awake, anger and longing tangled in my chest. By morning, a message waited on my phone. "I'm sorry, but I miss you." I tried to stay away. Days passed in a haze of silence, but my heart betrayed me. A week later, I met him by the beach. I told him I felt betrayed. He didn't defend himself. "I care about you," he said, and I stayed. Our secret life began. Dinners behind drawn curtains, walks when the streets were empty, laughter that belonged only to the dark. He brought me books I'd once mentioned, remembered small details no one else noticed. In those moments, I felt cherished, yet every goodbye carved a quiet ache. Slowly, the ache spread. My world shrank to the rhythm of his visits. I turned down invitations from friends, checked my phone before I even opened my eyes. The life I once loved, reading by the sea, spontaneous coffee dates, faded until there was only waiting. Some nights I stood on the beach asking myself if this was love or simply losing myself. I told myself to wait, that maybe he would choose me. But the questions grew louder. When he left after a weekend together, the house felt hollow. He never left anything behind, not even a forgotten shirt. It was as if, in the life that belonged to his wife and children, I didn't exist. One rainy evening, I sat by the window and whispered, "What am I doing?" I dreamed of a partner who would walk beside me in daylight, who would choose me every morning without hesitation. Instead, I had empty rooms and a heart on hold. I confided in my friend Nana, the only person who knew. "You deserve to be first," she said, "someone who's proud to love you in the open." Her words stayed with me like the echo of a bell. When Michael visited again, flowers in hand, I finally spoke. "I don't know if I can keep doing this. I'm living in your shadow. I wait for your visits and your calls, but I'm always waiting. I want more. I need more." He stared at the floor. "I love you. You know that. Then why don't you choose me?" "It's not that easy," he said. "I have children, a family." "And what am I?" I asked. "Just a secret." He had no answer. That night I cried, not because he was cruel, but because I finally saw the truth. He would never leave. After he walked away, I didn't call. I didn't write. Instead, I let the ocean wind wash over me every morning before work. Slowly, I remembered the girl I used to be, the one who loved long walks and books by the fire. I began writing again, filling a notebook with thoughts and fragments of dreams. Each page steadied me. Michael sent messages. "I miss you. Can I see you?" But I left them unread. A week later, he came to my door. "I needed to see you," he said. "I've been thinking," I told him. "I love you. Maybe I always will. But I need a real life. I want someone who can give me all of their heart, not just a part." His eyes darkened with sadness. "I can't leave them. I can't do that to my children." I nodded. "I understand. And this is goodbye." He hugged me, whispered, "I'm sorry," and left. That was the last time I saw him. I cried again, but the pain felt different, clean, like a deep breath after months underwater. In the weeks that followed, I spent more time with friends. Nana and I shared coffee every weekend, sometimes in comfortable silence. I returned to my old pleasures, evening walks on the beach, stories by the fire, the simple joy of the sea's steady rhythm. I joined a small writing class at the community center. Each week I wrote a few pages, and each page stitched something inside me back together. One evening after class I wandered into the corner bookstore. A man stood in the travel aisle and smiled when our eyes met. He came over. "You're in the writing class, right?" "Yes," I said. "I'm David." We talked about books, the chill in the air, the smell of the sea. His voice carried an easy warmth. The next week he sat near me in class. Afterward we crossed the street for coffee. He listened. When I spoke, he met my eyes without flinching. I felt calm, not nervous. We began meeting after class, short walks, quiet conversations. He never asked about my past, never pushed. He simply stood beside me, patient and kind. One evening we sat on a wooden bench overlooking the water. The sunset stained the horizon orange. I told him, I was in a relationship before. He was married. I waited for him too long. I don't want that kind of love again. David was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Thank you for trusting me. You deserve better." A gentle warmth settled in my chest. Not because I was falling in love yet, but because I felt understood. Weeks turned into months. David and I spent more time together. Movies, long walks, shared dreams. I laughed without pain. I felt free. One morning, I looked in the mirror and saw myself again. Not the woman who waited in shadows, but someone whole and alive. David never tried to fix me. He simply stayed near, showing me what love can look like when it's honest and open. One evening, watching children play in the park, I asked, "Do you ever want a family?" "Yes," he said with a quiet smile. "One day, with the right person," I smiled back. "Me too." We didn't need to say more. I knew now that love doesn't have to hurt, doesn't have to hide. Real love feels like coming home. Looking back, I don't regret the past. It taught me that love without respect is never enough, that waiting for someone who cannot choose you only brings pain, and that peace comes from within. Now I have peace, I have hope, I have love, not from someone who hides me, but from someone who walks beside me. If stories like this resonate, subscribe for more.